This Sunday evening at the Canadian Museum of Human Rights, Winnipeg's GroundSwell presents their second concert of the season. This concert, titled Root Systems, features the Montreal-based duo Park Sounds in a concert that explores themes of origin, belonging, and culture. Joining me here in the Classic 107 studio is the Park duo, which consists of Ben Reimer on percussion and Jennifer Thiessen on viola and viola d'amore. Welcome to our Classic 107 studios.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so first things first, Ben and Jennifer, you are both from Manitoba, but now you live in Montreal. Did you meet in Montreal or did you meet here in the province? How did that...
We did, in fact, meet in Montreal. Yeah, so Jen is originally from Austin, Manitoba, and I grew up here in Winnipeg. And really our paths didn't cross until we met each other in the music scene in Montreal.
Nice. And so whose idea was it to perform music for percussion and viola?
It was sort of a joint effort. Both of us are fairly involved in a lot of projects in Montreal and do a lot of touring over the past years. And we thought it would be great to do a project together where we can travel together, where we can create music together. And so that's sort of the started the idea.
And I was just thinking about the two instruments. I mean, the range of sonic possibilities between the two instruments is really limitless, right? Between the viola and there's all the extended techniques. And then Ben, you've got all the sort of percussion instruments. Are there any like sounds that you've discovered that you find particularly cool when you play them together?
Well, we have actually, one of the things that we really love about the combination is that it's not an automatic blend. It's not two strings, two voices, something like that. So some of the obvious sounds we gravitate toward are contrasts, but then some really nice surprises have been blends and similar sounds that we can make. For example, some of the composers writing for this program have done things with overtones, with a bowed cymbal. Michael Matthews' piece has, bowed cymbals along with ponticello strings. And the similarity in the sound is really mind-blowing, actually. And also pizzicato strings with marimba. There's something really similar in the timbre. It's really fun.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so the name of the concert is Root Systems. What was the idea behind the program? I know that one of the inspirations was literally root systems of prairie plants. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's right. There was a diagram I saw online at some point that was really beautifully done, kind of pencil drawing, I mean, for scientific purposes, just a diagram of the shape of the root systems of a number of native prairie plants. And I just found them really beautiful, and we started talking about them and we're inspired by some of them are a small plant above ground, but have this extensive, beautiful root system, or vice versa. And just translating that into the strength of knowing where you're from, taking traditions, valuing tradition, culture, identity, that kind of thing. And then for us, because we're both Manitobans, but not living at home. Right. So we really like the idea of bringing something home. So we started talking about what kind of program we could put together to bring home to our own root system. And then we found the existing music that we found for percussion and viola, both of the pieces that we found, which are Luciano Berio's Natural and Tigran Mansourian's Tags, which are these kind of basically arrangements of traditional Armenian songs. Both are completely rooted in the composer's cultural music from their cultures of origin. So Berio's Sicilian and Mansourian is Armenian, and they both use their traditional music really, really directly in those pieces.
So it's this whole idea of like home. And for me, that's when I think of roots, I don't actually think of roots of plants. I think like where my roots are. My roots are here in Winnipeg, which, goes to the next question. The theme of the concert works out perfectly for the venue. The venue is at the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. And so was this planned, or was this just a happy coincidence that the two things happened at the same time?
It was definitely planned with the generous support of the Canada Council for the Arts. We knew that we had a grant to put together this project, the commissions, to book an interesting venue. And so sort of all at the same time while talking to composers, discussing this sort of theme, we were, of course, looking at the venue possibilities as well, and specifically in Winnipeg. And this sort of jumped out as kind of an obvious place for us. And the room is incredible. There's such a unique resonance in there.
Where exactly is it in
it's
the museum?
In the Garden of Contemplation.
Nice. So I know you were talking about the Luciano Berio and the Mansourian. Can you talk a little bit more about those pieces? Like what kinds of percussion instruments do they use and what kinds of textures are created with those two pieces?
Yeah, the Mansourian is strictly vibraphone. So that's the more metallic of the keyboard percussion instruments. It has the sustain pedal. So there's a lot of sort of gorgeous, long-held notes. We're opening the whole program with that, and just this sort of beautiful, kind of warm, welcoming moment that we played it today for students at University of Manitoba, and it sort of had this way of kind of bringing us all together into the moment, and it was really wonderful. And and then the Berio, again, I'm just talking strictly percussion, really is kind of a broader range using marimba, a collection of toms, bowing, and doing different things to a tam-tam, like a large gong with metal kind of placed on it and scraping it, and a lot of textures. I'm really the support for the viola in the Berio, where Jen's the soloist, and I'm creating this kind of texture beneath it all.
That's great. I also know that there are 4 new works on the program. There's works by Michael Matthews, Marielle Groven, Daniel Morphy, and Karen Sunabaka. Were the pieces written for this particular concert? I know, for example, that Karen Sunabaka is the curator for this concert. Were these pieces written specifically for this concert?
They were. They all come from. We really admire each of these composers, but we're also friends with each of them. So it really came. We had the chance when creating this program to choose composers to request new pieces from. So we did a lot of thinking about what kind of a spirit we wanted in the concert and what would go well with these 2 existing kind of bookends to the program, and came up with these 4, all who write really beautifully, but in 4 very, very different ways. So we like the contrast between each of their personal styles, but also kind of a similar kind of beauty that they bring to their work.
Right. Mm-hmm. And did they write pieces specifically about the topic of home and roots? Like, is the subject matter the same?
We asked them to take that theme and then do with it whatever they wanted. So it was kind of according to their personal preference, whether they wanted to really directly address it or whether they wanted to interpret it as family stories or, a more kind of abstract way of interpreting root systems. And they've each done it really differently. So we were really happy with that. But yeah, they're all 4 written for the 2 of us. And this will be the first time they're ever played.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I was also noticing something else. And it sounds very, very interesting, that there's this event that happens right before the concert. There's a sound walk. Can you tell us about what that is?
Sure, a sound walk. This will be led by GroundSwell. So we'll be setting up for the concert, and someone from GroundSwell at 6:40, I believe, will take anyone who wants to, who is at the Garden of Contemplation at that time and wants to go on the sound walk. They will take them. And what a sound walk usually is almost like a silent meditation, but with a focus on listening, or like a walking meditation, I guess. So usually what happens is that all of the members of the group who are walking around stop speaking for the moment, turn off your phone, and you tune in your hearing senses and listen to everything that's happening around you as you pass through space, whatever it is. Wow. In this case, I think it will be the inside of the museum, at least. I'm not sure if they're going to go outside or stay inside. I'm not sure, but there's so many fascinating spaces within walking distance of the Garden of Contemplation.
Right.
So, people will notice anything from the change of acoustics from space to space, or random things that happen, things falling, people speaking, birds, it could be anything, but to kind of, it sort of perks up your ears in a way so that you listen to what's happening almost as though it was a soundtrack or radio
it sounds
show.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's
And
fun.
it's happening at, my understanding is it's at 6:40. It starts 20 minutes before the concert, right? So I guess they'll walk in, and by the time they end up at the hall, the concert will be ready to go.
That's
correct?
right. Yeah, I think so.
And I guess the last question is, how can people get tickets?
I believe if they go to the GroundSwell website, you can buy tickets online right there. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Also at the door.
At the door. Wonderful. Ben and Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for coming to our Classic 107 studios and talking to us today. It's just been great.
Thanks for having us.
Join the Park Sounds duo this Sunday evening at 7 o'clock at the Museum for Human Rights for a concert that is sure to be a feast for the senses. If you want more details about this concert that's happening on Sunday night, go to gswell.ca.